coming to you live from Tennessee. From the east to the west, we are talking Cowboys everything. And you just entered
the Cowboy Zone.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cowboy Zone, and thank you for watching. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee.
And this is Lambo from Cowboys Y'all out of Johnson City, Tennessee.
All right, guys, thank you all for joining us tonight. I see we got people coming in pretty quick, so we appreciate all your support. Let us know who you are in the comments so that we can give you some shouts out and put your information on the screen. You guys are the best fans on social media, and we want to make sure that we hear from you. I see we got quite a few, so let's get in the comments. Let us know you're there before we get started. Tonight's topic, and what's up, Lamar? Appreciate you joining as always.
Hello.
Mendoza, appreciate you tuning in.
J-Tuck
in the building. Man, you've been on the road, J-Tuck. I'm shocked you're not going live right now yourself. And shouts out to you with that Connor podcast you did with Knicks a couple of days ago. Man, you guys were really dropping knowledge that day, man. Shouts out to you. Shane Odom, thank you for joining as always. Appreciate your support. All right. I'm assuming your name is Izzy Galvez. Thank you for joining as always. Appreciate your support. Jeff, thank you for tuning in. I know you had a lot going on, so I appreciate you coming and supporting us for a few minutes tonight.
Yes, sir.
And guys, I haven't had a chance to share it, so if you could, make sure you share this. Share it to your personal page. Share it to your favorite page. We're going to talk about a lot of NFL talk in terms of these different teams. And there are going to be a lot of guys over the next week that you guys will see get cut. So tonight we're going to kind of put you guys ahead of the curve so that you can already kind of know who these guys are, potentially why they're getting cut, and some of the cap consequences of them being cut. And also we're going to talk a little bit about some of these guys we may want to send a few trade offers to in advance to make sure we can get their services. The last time we did that was Robert Quinn. We had some good luck with that one. So maybe we can maybe lighten the strike twice for us in terms of some of these defensive guys that may come available. Roosevelt Boyd looks like a new name, so thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Beard Gang, Brian, what's up, man? Appreciate it as always. Nix, thank you for tuning in as well with the Captain Caveman profile pic. I love that. And Brian, it looks like you were looking at my notes because that's actually the first team we're going to go to tonight. And for all you guys that are joining us, tonight's topic is Cap Casualties. So there's been a lot of posts on social media saying that the next week is going to be crazy in terms of cuts. So I wanted to put something together just to let everyone be aware of some of the cuts that could be coming, and also just to give you some names to see, is this a guy we want to go out and reach out to and see if we can throw them a fourth or a fifth or whatever to get that guy's services. All right, Lambo, you ready?
Ready.
All right, man. How's the family doing so far? I know you have a lot going on with your mom too, so.
Yeah, she's doing a little bit better. I know she had a little scared after her surgery, but doing a little bit better right now. Everything's going pretty good, and can't complain.
Okay, well, that's all we can ask for. So definitely prayers up to you and your family. I hope your mom pulls through whatever she's going through.
Thank you.
Oh, before we start, you mentioned something about your son's team. You want to go ahead and get that out of the way?
Did I?
Yeah, you sent me a message about a week ago, about 3 or 4 days ago, about your son's football team. You tagged me.
You're right. My son, we out here where we live, the tackle football team is the Junior Pioneers. And we're going to be trying to collect donations to help get all the kids new equipment and new helmets and kind of upgrade, because they don't have all the nice stuff like some of the teams in the league do. for example, everybody knows who Jason Witten is, obviously. Well, about one city over from us, or a 25-minute drive, is Elizabethton, which is where Jason Witten grew up. So his family coaches out there. They got Ryan Witten and Sean Witten, and they coach for Elizabethton Cyclones. So they got their junior Cyclones team out there, and as you would know it, top of the line, helmets, uniforms, everything's all nice. Then us out here 25 minutes away, just trying to do what we can to get these kids some good uniforms and equipment and good helmets and stuff. So we're going to be trying to here shortly get some donations for the kids in my area. But right now I have to go through the school board first, or not the school board, but the league representatives, and get the okay from them before I start that process. So just keep a lookout for that, and hopefully in the next week or two we can decide to see what we can get together for these kids. But speaking of the Pioneers in my area here, if anybody's a Notre Dame fan, you should check out Prince Kollie, Kollie. He's a linebacker / running back from right here in my town, and he just committed to Notre Dame as a 4-star linebacker. The dude's special. Check him out.
So is he replacing Joker?
Hey, he might.
Might be the next Joker.
He's
Jalen.
good, man. He's really good.
You got his measurables, so I can be on the lookout for him.
Oh man, let me take a look here.
All right, and while you get that, before I put this information up, I want to give you guys a little bit of background about what I plan on doing and what I came up with. So basically, I went through every team and I looked at how much they were over or under in the salary cap, and I tried to look at players where, if they were extremely over, what guys could they cut to save the most money to get under? Now, for some of the teams that are pretty close to the cap, if it's a top player, I would assume that they're gonna 6'1", 210. So
yeah, right here,
probably grow another inch, another 30 pounds.
Yeah, dude's a beast.
Or he's Joker size right now, so they may keep him where he is, and like I said, for real, put him in the Joker spot.
Yep.
But like I was saying, some guys they may try to restructure and keep them, but I tried to go with the guys I really think will be cut or maybe offered up in a trade. So I know news has been coming in nonstop the past 24 hours. If there's a guy on my list who has already been cut, please let me know and put it in the comments so I can make a change to it in the future. All right, guys, let's get into it.
Me too, Shane. Me too.
And I put Lambeau small. So, just like Brian requested, this is the team everybody's kind of talking about, and that's the New Orleans Saints. As you can see, they're roughly 61 million over the cap. They got a big hole to dig themselves out of. And honestly, I'm very interested to see how they dig themselves out of this hole, because they don't have a lot of guys that they can go to for restructures, because they've been restructuring the hell out of contracts the past 2 or 3 years. And these are the 4 guys that I noted that could possibly be cut to save money.
Yeah.
And somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I saw something across my screen that said Quan Alexander was cut already. I may be wrong, but let me know if that's the case. So first of all, we're going to start with Quan Alexander, start with the biggest cap hit. Outside linebacker. They signed him to a 2-year deal last year, and this is the last year of his deal. Oh, man, what's up? What's up, man? I know it's probably...
Hey, Paul. It's
probably 4 a.m. where he is. So
it should be 1:45 a.m. if I believe.
So
I believe
definitely appreciate you staying up and tuning in with us, Paul.
Paul, this one's for you, bud. Your favorite.
Yeah, I was actually on the podcast with the UK guys earlier today. So if you guys get a chance, make sure to go check that out. And they were talking about how, Lambeau, you always come up with the different brews that they can't wait to try. All right, so first off, we start with Quan Alexander. I don't think this is a guy that would be in consideration for us. because even if he's cut, I think his dollar amount would be a little bit too steep for our team.
Likely.
13.2 million. I think even if he goes somewhere else, it'll still be about the same price. This is just one of those necessity cuts. Now, the other three guys, if we were interested in them, I think they'd be possibilities for us. So we start off going down the list, and you have Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore is in the 5th year of his rookie deal, so that 10.2 million is pretty much guaranteed. Could be similar to like a Amari Cooper type situation where if you want him, I don't think we would have to give up a first round pick for him like we did for Coop. But if you wanted to get him, you can get him in the locker room now and possibly work out some type of restructure on him. A shutdown corner, one of the few shutdown corners in the league. Definitely will make a great addition to this team if it's something we consider. Only 25 years old.
That would be great.
So, Lambo, you a fan of Marshawn Lattimore?
Yeah, I would be happy with Marshawn Lattimore. Could you imagine if you were able to get him in free agency? Then you know who I'm eyeballing at 10 at that point for sure is Pitts.
and I'll just wait for Nick to put something in the comments about what you just said. So the other corner on the team is Jackrabbit Jenkins, 32 years old. Just from the age and the production, I think he's just going to be outright cut. $14 million is kind of ridiculous. I don't think he played a lot of games last year. So I could see him being a guy that gets cut and probably going on the free agent market for half price. So if there's that adds to the list of older corners that people are going to look at. He's always been a guy that's kind of been a thorn in our side for Dallas. And he's a feisty corner. Maybe something we could consider if the price was lower. I think $7 million is still too high for a guy like that. But if the price was right, I'd definitely consider him. What do you think, Lambo?
I'd consider him. Thinking about it from the Cowboys GM standpoint, I don't think he's a guy they're going to end up going after. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question. Going back to Lattimore, let's forget Jenkins because that's not going to happen because everybody's kind of blowing the comments up about Lattimore. Let's say you could get Lattimore for a 3rd round pick. Would you try to make room and bring him on the team knowing that you have to get him signed to a long-term contract next year or extend him this year?
I'd probably try because there's quite a few players, I believe, next year that we can get a saving from that we can't really get this year, but next year those players could create a cap savings for us.
Yeah. William Coulter, thank you for tuning in.
It's hard though, man. If you're expecting a big Dak deal to happen this offseason, it feels like if Dak happens, it'd be less likely that you're going to get this mega contract for that young corner.
Right. So as much as I would love to see him come on the team, I think you're right. I think the timing is just a little bit off for us to go for a guy like that. But definitely somebody I love to have on the team. I would be shocked if they could afford him this year. I would be even more shocked if he signs with the team next year if he plays this year out. So definitely somebody we want to pay attention to. If we don't trade for him now, watch out for him next year.
And do you think that if we did trade for him, what would be who we dealing out? Is it Michael Gallup in a pick?
Well, here's the thing. New Orleans can't take on any more contracts right now. Like that $61 million number, we all talk about the cap as a myth. But when you're that much over and you take a look at their roster, they got to do some work. They got to do a lot of work. I don't think they could take on any contracts right now. Like, unless it was like a league minimum contract. Because I noticed today they started extending a bunch of players who were making like $2 and $3 million just to save $1 million here and there. They are really treading water at this point. Now, this last guy is a guy I'm really intrigued by. and that's Malcolm Brown, a former first-round pick for the New England Patriots. He is on the Saints right now, 28 years old. I think he would be a perfect fit in Dallas. If you take a look, his cap hit is $6 million. And if they were to cut him, they would save almost $5 million. I think this is a guy you can call up and get in the trade for a mid-round pick. And I also think this is a guy who may be on the cutting board in the next couple of weeks.
Definitely has the size that we need. 320.
Yeah. Used to stuff in the hole, playing that 3-4. He was kind of the alley stuffing guy, and Sheldon Rankins was the penetrator. So I think if we got a guy like that, the price is definitely right. He's still pretty young.
Yeah. Played college at Texas, so I mean, come on back to the state.
Exactly. So yeah, if I look at this team, I think Malcolm Brown is number one guy, and I would love to call them up and make a trade for him. So let me ask you this now, what would you want? What would you be willing to give up for a guy like Malcolm Brown? Would you go third round pick?
That's why I was trying to decide between 3 and 4. Oh man. It's tough because I feel like the third round is like the perfect round to get some of the best one techniques in the draft.
Now the thing you also have to consider is this is the last year of his deal. So it can't be too high because you're only paying for him for 1 year.
That's true. I'd feel more comfortable with a 4th if they would go for that.
I see a lot of people saying third, yeah. Just like Jay Tuck said, they could barely sign him to a deal. Yeah, and William, they've been cutting people like crazy. Like I think they got rid of Sheldon Rankins. They've extended a ton of contracts to save $2 and $3 million here and there. So they got a lot of guys on their team who have signed 2-year deals to turn their $5 million contracts into $2 million for this year. And as I go to check Spot Rack right now, I see that their number has dropped down to $58 million. So since I made this chart on Tuesday, they've made some more moves to get under the cap. And actually, they cut Jared Cook today for $2 million. And they cut Josh Hill today for $1 million. So there's the $3 million right there. So they still have $58 million to go to get at zero. I'm not a Saints fan at all, but this is probably a team I'll be watching for the next month just to see how they work this out.
Breeze is still under contract, right?
The way Breeze's contract is set up, they did some type of restructure, and I believe by the time we get to the first day of the season, they'll probably designate him a post-June 1 cut. Yeah. And I think that'll probably save them about $8 million if they do it. And the fact that they did that, I think that means Breeze is retiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, William. I don't know how many picks they got, and that's the reason why I say this is a team you can call up and give them draft pick. They're going to need bodies because they're cutting everybody. So the contract for a third round pick is what, $700,000, something like that.
Yeah.
So they're going to need that money to replace a guy like a Malcolm Brown or Jenkins.
They also make a good candidate if you're trying to trade from the second and get back into the first, because
they're going to need as many bodies as possible, and they're going to need cheaper deals.
Yeah, cheaper deals and as many bodies, so it makes sense that they could possibly trade out of the first.
So I don't know where they're picking it. I would assume it's somewhere like 27, maybe 26.
Yeah, that mid to late 20s.
Yeah. So like you said, if there's a guy they think they like and they're willing to go back to 40, that will probably save them $1 million on the contract. They probably be more than willing to do that, and they probably take a discount to make that trade back. This is a team we could really go and take advantage of, or any other team in the NFL. But yeah, I see a lot of people saying next year's 4th. I would consider conditional pick 4th round, conditional 3rd, depending on how he plays. But Malcolm Brown, if I'm Dallas, I'm on the phone. We got 2 extra thirds this year. We'll probably end up getting a fourth or something next year for some guys. I'd make that phone call all day. All right, let's go to the next team. Now, this one I'm going to go with a team that's over and under. I'm sorry, they're both over, sorry. And they're both over by a lot. So that's the Falcons and the Chiefs. Now, I went through their teams, and William, the penalty for not making it under the cap is you can't draft. A team cannot participate in the NFL draft if they don't have enough money to sign the players allocated to them.
Man, Honey Badger.
That's for the draft. And if I'm not mistaken, there's some penalty if they're not under the cap by the first day of the league year. I don't know what that penalty is. Maybe that's the draft penalty. Like if you don't start the year off under the cap, you can't participate in the draft. That may be it. But I know for certain if they're not under the cap and have enough space on their team to sign those guys, they can't draft. So I would definitely be on the phone with them. So now we go to the Chiefs and the Falcons. I went through both teams. It's really not a lot they can do in terms of cutting guys. These are two teams that I could see doing a lot of restructures because they have a lot of guys they signed to big deals last year. They got Matt Ryan, who, if they wanted to, they could probably save $10 million off top. They could probably go to Julio and save another 10. So the cap is really not a huge concern for them because they have guys they can cut. Kind of the same thing with the Chiefs. The Chiefs can always go back to Chris Jones again. They can go back to a couple of the offensive linemen. They have abilities to get under the cap. But if they didn't want to go that route, these are a few of the guys that I looked at that maybe Dallas might be interested in if the price were right.
Yeah.
And Jay Tuck, I haven't looked at the rules, but I know the rule about the drafting is accurate. I just don't know if that's by the first day of the league year or by the time the draft. So I don't know what the penalties are.
Well, we know for one thing, the Cowboys, like they've always done, will pass up the chance at Honey Badger.
Yep. Now, this is not something we could trade for because we wouldn't have the money to pay what his salary would be if we traded for him.
Yeah, it'd have to be a new deal, and he'd have to go way cheaper than he's going to want to.
But I would not be shocked to see him being a potential cut. Because, again, I don't think they can do anything with Mahomes' contract right now. Chris Jones is getting up there in age. They may not want to touch that contract. Their left tackle has been hurt often. They may not want to touch that contract. Those are their biggest contracts. So if they just want to cut somebody and get right at the cap, Honey Badger may be the guy that gets the shred. And he may welcome the cut if we look at his body language off that last playoff game. And if they were to cut him, if we can get that salary down to around 10, 11 million, that's something I definitely consider in terms of signing him to a free agent contract. What about you, Lambo?
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you 100%, man. For sure. And are you referring Eric Fisher is who you're referring to, right?
Yeah. Now, they could cut Eric Fisher, the left tackle, and they would save $12 million a year. They would save $12 million this year if they cut him outright. I just can't see a team cutting their starting left tackle.
I don't think Mahomes would be
I didn't put him up there.
I don't think Mahomes would be too fond of that idea.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point, Lampo. I don't think your $40 million quarterback would like it if you cut your starting left tackle. Now, so I could see them going to Eric Fisher and restructuring his deal. And if they did that, they would open up about $8 million or so that could help them out. And then they also have Frank Clark, who they signed to a big contract. But the contract was so awful, they can't cut him and save money. So that's another guy they can go to, restructure his contract, and that would save them. Let me just do the math real quick. How many years they have left? 1, 2. They could go to him and save about $6 or $7 million this year. So they have guys they can restructure. That's why I didn't put them up here. These are guys I could see them possibly cutting. Damian Wilson, I mean, they just drafted a running back last year, first round.
You're thinking
Damian Williams is a little bit expendable right now. Yeah.
When you said Wilson in the first time, so you're still thinking about the linebacker from last week's talk.
I'm thinking about last week, yeah. But Damian Williams, I think will definitely be cut. That's $2 million right there.
Yeah, they're not going to, for sure. They're not running backs. Yeah, they'll draft someone in the mid rounds that's going to perform the same as him.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about Honey Badger, he's on the last year of his deal. So if they don't think they can restructure or sign him next year, they may just decide to let him go early and save $14 million right now. You never know. They could have a safety they like in the draft. You just really don't know what teams are thinking when it comes to stuff like this. So we go to the Falcons. Again, just like the Chiefs, they have a ton of guys they can restructure to get under the cap. But if they were to cut some guys, these are two guys that I think we would be interested in if they did. James Carpenter, former first-round pick, 32-year-old guard. Last year of his deal for $6 million. If we wanted to move on from a guy like Connor Williams or do anything else, this is the type of guy I would look at, see if we can get him. Tyler Davidson is a young defensive tackle. He has that height, weight, speed we like. He comes from the Quinn system, so he knows the system well. This is another guy we may want to inquire about if we were looking to trade for a guy. This is the type of guy I think we can get for a day 3 pick if he were available.
Okay.
So somebody asked about the Eagles and Dallas Cowboys 92. Eagles. Appreciate you joining us. And somebody else, Paul asked about the Eagles as well. So let me go ahead and find the Eagles while I'm here. Okay. So I got the Eagles along with the Rams just because they're tied with the two quarterbacks they both got rid of. And this one is very interesting if you look at it. They're both way over the cap. They got a lot of work to do as well. So a lot of these names, I think these are going to be straight cuts.
If I remember, Michael Brockers, it says 39. That was an accident, wasn't it?
He's 30. I forgot to move the number down. Brockers is 31, and Andre Whitworth is 39.
Brockers, if I remember right, we wanted to draft him that year.
That was the year we traded up for
Claiborne. Was it Claiborne?
Claiborne, yeah. Yep. And remember, this is why I think he gets cut. Michael Brockers was either cut or traded last year, and he didn't pass the physical of the team he went to. And either the trade was canceled or he just signed back with the Rams. I don't remember which one it was. Wow. Somebody correct me on that one if I'm wrong.
That's interesting.
So they were already looking to get rid of him last year. So this year, you see they're $28 million over. They can probably restructure some contracts. Of course, they can go to the big guys. But this may be a move that they may just go ahead and outright cut him. And his cap hit $9 million. If that number would have dropped down to 6 or 7, Michael Brockers is the type of guy I would look at for a 1 or 2 year deal. He's known for his pass rush. I mean, his pass rush as well as his run defense. So he can give you both aspects from that nose tackle position. Has a lot of experience playing in that front 7, so he could definitely come in and help out. Yeah, and William talks about they must have been making some cuts because they were over $77 million. I'm going to Spot Rack right now, William, to check on that for you to see what they've possibly done. So of course they cut Deshaun Jackson. That saved them $6 million. I don't see any other big cuts that they made. So they must have done some restructures that haven't popped up yet. I see Fletcher Cox. They probably restructured him and Brandon Graham, if I had to guess.
Wish we had Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, his contract is uncuttable right now.
Yeah.
So I think we got to wait another year or two for Fletcher Cox to open up, and even longer if they restructure his deal. Hey, J Tuck, I'm holding out hope. They got to come around at some time. And William, yeah, trading Wentz did hurt them this year. I mean, they did save money, but it was like a couple $100,000. Next year, they're going to get a big savings from it, though. So looking at this, Michael Brockers, again, is a guy I really like. If the number was right, I think he's going to be a cut guy. Andrew Whitworth, 39 years old, but he continuously plays at a Pro Bowl level. I don't think he would come to a team like this because I think he want to come to a team he feels like can definitely make a Super Bowl run. Yeah. But if we could get him here, something I'd definitely consider. And Shane, I'll go to the Titans next. But when we talk about Philly, we start at the top looking at Zach Ertz. What do you think they do with Ertz? You think they cut him or you think somebody gives him up in a trade? Thank you, Dustin. I knew they either traded him and he failed the physical, or they cut him, he failed the physical, and they re-signed him. Thanks for clearing that up for me.
What's left on his contract? On Ertz's contract? On Zach Ertz.
He's in the last year of his deal.
Last year.
Hold on. I don't think so. Hold on. Let me check again. Double check. Yeah, he's in the last year of his deal. This is his last year. And his salary for this year is $8.2 million. I think the asking price would be too much for him. We definitely wouldn't have a shot.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So yeah, Marquise Goodwin, he's definitely gone. That's $4 million they're going to save. If we need a special teams guy, that's somebody we can maybe look at. Alshon Jeffrey, I think he's definitely cut. I wouldn't look at him if he paid to be on the team.
He's spiraling. He's doing he's pulling a, was it Dwayne Bowe? He's just spiraling out of.
Yep.
Disappearing.
So the last guy is Malik Jackson. This is somebody I may be interested in. He has a lot of injury concerns, but he's very productive in terms of run defense. He's a proven leader. He's going to come in and give you some leadership in their front seven. One of the reasons why the Eagles wanted him so bad. If I wouldn't do a trade for him because he's just too old.
Yeah,
there's not much you can offer. This would be one of those guys I'll wait for them to cut him and then see if I can get him here for a 2-year deal at about $3 million a year or something like that. So just pay attention to a guy like Malik Jackson and Michael Brockers coming up in the next week, because I think they're definitely both going to have to make a move pretty soon. All right, I think somebody asked for the Tennessee Titans next. So along with the Titans, I did the New York Football Giants. So when I looked at the Titans team, they're actually $5 million under the cap. They have a solid team. I don't see them really having to release anybody or make any restructures. I think they're good where they are. But every team normally likes to go into the season with at least $10 million kind of in their back pocket. $5 million to sign your draft picks and another $5 million just to have that emergency cushion. So when I look at their team, I tried to go through to see who I think could be cut. The only name that really stood out to me was Malcolm Butler. And I feel like they've been wanting to cut him for probably 2 or 3 years. And this is the first year in his contract where it makes sense financially for them to let him go.
Yeah.
So, Lambo, would you have any interest in Malcolm Butler?
In free agency, I wouldn't trade for him.
I think he's a definite cut. I don't think anybody would trade for him.
Yeah. Definitely not getting.
He has 2 more years left on his deal. He makes $11 million a year. If he were to get cut, what dollar amount would you feel comfortable signing him to? Let's say a 2-year deal. It definitely wouldn't be 11. It wouldn't be 11 a year. See, I personally wouldn't touch him. I just don't like former Patriots.
They're a lot of times it seems like players will do very well in the Patriots scheme.
Uh-huh.
And then after Patriots life, they aren't always the same player. I don't know, man. It would have to be really fair.
Yeah.
It would have to be fair. I don't know. I'm all about getting young though. I don't know. I would rather us throw a pick at some high potential guy, good athlete, and I still like the idea of I don't know if he's gonna play corner, but I still like the idea of Reggie Robinson and seeing what he's got.
Yeah. So this person says look for Butler to get restructured. No need for them to cut him. That's definitely a possibility. They're under the cap, so they don't have a urgent need to do a cut. I just don't see it, because if they were to restructure him now, that would make next year his salary cap go from 14 million to like 18 or 19 million. And then he's definitely getting cut. But the dead money may be so high you couldn't cut him then either. So right now his dead money for next year would be $2 million. Let's say you restructure him. That would take the dead cap up to about 5 million. You could still cut him if you wanted to. That cap hit would go from 14 to about 17. So that's definitely an option for a player like that. I could just see them letting them go. Again, looking at the draft, it's going to be deep at corner. I believe the Titans drafted Christian Fulton last year in the 2nd round, if I'm not mistaken. So if they did, they have Christian Fulton. They still have a Dory Jackson. They could pick up another corner in the draft in the 1st or 2nd round. So they may be good at corner.
Yeah.
And they were a good team last year.
Very much.
So I could just see them saying, you know what, let's just save this $10 million. We need some help on the offensive line. We may lose one of our defensive tackles to free agency, so we need to replace him. Do we really want to pay Malcolm Butler to be our number 2, number 3 corner? You never know. But definitely a possibility. And Dustin Hockett asked about Will Hernandez. He was actually a 2nd round pick. Let me look that up to be sure. But I'm almost certain he was a 2nd round pick. Now, the reason I put him up here is because, he was a 2nd round pick in 2018. He had the 2nd worst PFF grade last year for guards. And he got his spot taken by a rookie 6th round pick. I just can't see them bringing him back if they were that willing to let him go and get replaced like that. And I think they're going to need some money because they got a lot of signings they got to make. You see they're 11 million under right now, but they got a decision to make with Dalvin Tomlinson and Leonard Williams. That $11 million could get eaten up very quickly. They probably have some decisions to make on picking up some linebackers. They may pick up a guard. They may need a receiver. They got a lot of holes to fill in the front 7 and on the offense. So they may want to stockpile a little bit of this money up to be some players in free agency. And then we look at Nate Solder. He missed all of last year. I think he opted out. They drafted Andrew Thomas last year, so they really don't have a need for Nate Solder right now. He'll be 34 years old. They may cut him and save that $6 million. And this is a good point, J Tuck. One of those things you don't think about until you really kind of dig into the numbers and dig into other teams because we're so focused on Dallas. Going back to Philly, you're right.
Jamar Chase.
There's no way Alshon Jeffrey comes back. No way. I don't think Marquise Goodwin comes back either. Deshaun Jackson's already gone. Zach Ertz is probably out the door. So you're talking 4 skill players on offense that may be off this team.
I still think they're taking Jamar Chase. I said that back, like when we did the what was the little mock draft thing we did?
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying, I swear I feel like Jamar Chase is going to the Eagles.
And I said Pitts, but yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those 2 guys.
So I really like I guess I didn't think Pitts because I really like wow, brain fart. 88.
I know you're talking about Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I like Goddard.
Yeah.
I think they like Goddard a lot too.
But their system is more 2 tight end than it is 3 wide receiver.
True.
I think they would much rather have 2 athletic tight ends than have a 3rd wide receiver. And Dustin Hockett talks about how much Dallas love Hernandez. That's true. I don't think he fits that scheme. I think we have a running back like Saquon Barkley. He's more of a jitterbug type guy. Hernandez will look great in our scheme because our scheme for the most part is downhill blocking, and that's his strength. He's not athletic in the feet at all. He's just going to get on the guard and lay on him. So this is definitely a guy. If he were cut, I would definitely look into to give him a second chance and opportunity to get back at his old team. William, I agree. I don't think there's any way Solder plays and stays with them. And they did cut Golden Tate today. That's true. And the one I'm really looking at, and I've been talking about this one for a while, Gabriel Peppers.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I would be interested because he's going to give you some special teams value.
He's going to give you special teams. He's going to come in and start at either safety spot. The Giants have a surplus at safeties right now. They drafted our guy, Xavier McKinney, last year.
Yeah.
They signed Knicks' guy, Logan Ryan, in the offseason and just signed him to a deal. They still have Darnay Holmes. They just drafted from UCLA. They really like him at safety. So they're pretty deep at the safety spot. And Gabriel Peppers is in the last year of his deal. So they may make that decision now to save $6 million and use that money somewhere else. Definitely something to consider. Now, Lambo, if we could go after a guy like Peppers, what kind of draft pick would you consider on this one? Now, consider this is a rival, so we may have to pay a little bit more to get him.
I like Peppers, but I still don't feel like I like him enough to give a 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
Honestly, that's just me, but I would give a 4.
Would you do a 4 and another pick, like a future pick, like a 4 and a 6?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
more along the lines of something I would be considering.
Yeah. Now, the thing about Peppers is whether they trade him or they cut him, they save the same amount of money. So if the trade market is kind of dry for a guy like Peppers, he may be on the open market in a week. So this is definitely a guy we can go after. So if he was on the open market, what would be your line in terms of contract? Would you do a 1-year deal with him? Would you consider signing him to 2 or 3 years off the top?
I would probably. I mean, where he's so young, I would probably try to strike him with a 3-year deal. But sometimes you can get a great deal on a 1-year prove it type contract if he's willing to do something like that. If he's betting on himself, in that case, I wouldn't be against that. doing a 1-year deal, seeing what kind of value we could get. And if he played his way out of a possible contract after, then at least we get something back.
Yeah. Well, guys, he'll be 26 when the season starts, but he's 25 right now.
Yeah.
And I definitely loved him coming out of college. I think he came out at 20, if I'm not mistaken. That's why he still looks so young, and he's been in the league 5 years. But definitely a guy I've always been a fan of. I know some people don't like him at free. I play him at free or strong and feel very good about that. I just feel like he was underutilized on the teams he played with. And he's still young. He's still learning the position because he played linebacker in college. So I think the best football for Peppers may still be in front of him. So like you said, if I can get him 2 or 3 years, $5 million a year, I think there'll be a risk definitely worth taking.
Yeah, for sure. And we could use him back there on punts.
Yeah. So. All right, guys, we're at 47 minutes. We're probably going to stay on another 30 minutes or so. So let me know what teams you guys want to go to next. Also, make sure you share this. Make sure you share it to your personal page. Share it to your favorite page, because I hear a lot of people talking about the Cap Casualties and things like that. Let's get a leg up on them and let everybody know that you guys are ahead of the game in terms of who may be cut next. I saw today earlier, I posted one of my things on a group chat, and there were some guys that were cut on my list already, and I was like, we're already ahead of it. So let's keep it going. Let's let people see what we got going on. And make sure you guys like from where you are. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to both of our YouTube channels, Facebook pages. Got the information going at the bottom of the screen. As always, we appreciate you guys' support.
Thank you.
All right, Lambo, what team you want to go to next? Any team in particular you want to check out? You checked out Atlanta and KC. We hit the Rams and the Eagles.
You got another division rival up there?
Another division. We did the Giants. We got to do the football team. Now, actually, I don't think I did Washington because they have so much cap space.
Yeah.
And honestly, they don't have a lot of talented players, and they don't have a lot of big contracts.
I was just about to say 49ers.
Okay, let's go to the 49ers.
Dustin Hockett hit up the Niners.
So with the 49ers, I also did the New England Patriots. So we're going to go through these a lot quicker than I thought, because on most of them, I put 2 teams on one chart. So the interesting thing about both of these teams are they're both under the cap. As you can see, the Patriots have enough money to do whatever they want. $63 million under. Also, you look at the Niners, they're $16 million under the cap. I think Alex Smith may already be cut, William. I think they cut him already. So that's why I didn't do that one. So when you look at the 49ers, you see they're $16 million under the cap. So they really don't have to cut somebody. But if they did, these are the 2 big names that I think they would cut. And in terms of tight end, sorry about the mistake on that one. I think it was supposed to be Nick Vanet. Let me make sure that's the right guy. But in terms of the first player, Jimmy G, 29 years old. He's probably missed, at least 10 games, 3 of the past 4 years. If they were to cut him, they would save $23 million. This is the type of move where if a team was going to trade for Deshaun Watson, I could see this being the type of move that's made where you cut or trade a Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I feel like they can call up New England at pretty much any time and initiate that trade. So I don't think that's not something we would look at anyway, but I could definitely see him being more traded than cut. All right, so we go to the Niners next. Again, they don't have a lot of contracts you can cut. I'm sorry, Lambo, you about to say something?
No, I was just saying D Ford. I liked him coming out of college, even though he was so light.
Yeah. So I was looking at D Ford, 29 years old. They play him kind of outside linebackerish, DN outside linebacker. Quick first step, but he's getting up there in age, and he's only played 2 games the past 2 years. Well, he's only started 2 games the past 2 years. He didn't play at all this past year. I think he got hurt like.
Yeah, I was about to say that. The year before last, he still managed to rack up 6.5 sacks.
He did, but he only started like 2 games though.
Yeah.
But they were deep at defensive end last year before they traded the guy to Indy.
Yeah.
And then you had a healthy Nick Bosa. So they were really deep at end last year. So he kind of got pushed to the back burner, even though his contract was so high. But looking at this past year, he didn't play at all. He'll be 30 years old. If they cut him, they'll save $6 million. They got a new defensive coordinator. D Ford may not be the flavor that the new DC likes. So you save that money, and then you look at a $20 million cap hit. Even if they got the money, they may say, you know what? Do we really want to have a $20 million cap hit for a guy who doesn't fit our scheme?
Right.
I can definitely see him getting cut. Now, I don't know if we'd really be interested in a guy like that because I think the price would still be too high.
Yeah.
But definitely a name you guys will want to watch in the next week to see what happens with him. So I'm going back through my sheet, and I don't see what tight end I was planning on putting right there. So what I probably did was I copied another one and tried to change it, and I didn't. So look over the tight end one for now, and let's go to New England. Now this one is interesting because again, you guys can see they're $63 million under the cap. So when you look at that at first glance, you'll be like, they have no need to cut anybody. Why would you consider them as cutting players? The reason I put Dante Hightower up here is because he opted out due to COVID last year. And he'll be 31 years old and a full year removed from the NFL. He already wasn't known for his athleticism. He was just known for being a thumper and a leader. I can't see a coach like Bill Belichick paying $12 million for this guy, especially knowing you can save $10 million. So I just feel like he's going to get cut. I don't know why. I just have a good feeling. Even though they have the money to pay him, I think Hightower is still a guy that's going to be cut from this team. What do you think about that, Lambo?
Yeah, it seems like the type of move, a Belichick move. My thing though is I feel like he's gonna want to start somewhere.
Oh, definitely.
And I don't think he gets the opportunity with us.
Yeah. I just put him up here because I think he'll be a guy who will get cut. Just a name to be aware of.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think he fit here at all because of the price.
Yeah.
And the position he plays.
I do think he'll get cut though for sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now the interesting one is Stephon Gilmore. And again, people are gonna say the Patriots are $63 million under the cap. Why would they cut a guy like this? And again, he'll be 32 years old during the season. Bill Belichick is all about getting rid of guys a year earlier than a year later.
Randy Moss.
Right. He may look and say, you know what?
Davis.
Do I want to pay $15 million for Stephon Gilmore? Okay, he was defensive MVP, but that was in the past. Maybe we want to get some new blood in here. There are going to be a lot of available free agents in the upcoming free agency. He may just want to start over from scratch. And like Dustin Hockett said, they do have a young guy they like. I can't think of his name right now either. So if you have his name, please let me know. But the Patriots could be some players in free agents this year. And when you look at it, I mean, Tom Brady already embarrassed them by winning the Super Bowl. So Belichick may open the wallet up a little bit and try to bring in some bigger names to get them back on top quicker. There may be a wide receiver. It hopefully will be a quarterback. And it may be some of these defensive linemen, like a Dalvin Tomlinson or guys like that we really like. I can see the Patriots being players for those guys. Okay. So he says Bentley. Okay. I know you're talking about. I can't think of his first name, but yeah. And Shane Odom asked about Green Bay. So we'll go to Green Bay next and take a look at that one. And this one's going to be interesting because I remember when I looked at it, I was like, these are some very interesting names that are going to be cut or could possibly be cut on this one. Same for Denver. I put Green Bay and Denver together. We're at 56 minutes, so we'll probably go another 10, 15 minutes or so, and then we'll get out of here. So we look at Denver first, and this one is a very interesting name. We'll talk about Von Miller in a second. Kareem Jackson, a thumper at safety. An absolute thumper. And for a strong safety, he's making $12 million. Now, he's an impactful player, but I don't know if they would pay $12 million for a strong safety. They may try to sign back Justin Simmons, so they may want to do an either-or situation, even though they do have the cap space to do it. You just never know. They may be in the lookings for another quarterback. They have a lot of positions on defense they may have to backfill in terms of defensive tackle, linebacker, stuff like that. But I could see Kareem Jackson possibly being one of those guys that gets cut. He's 32 years old. He'll probably be 33 during the season. So do you really want to pay a 33-year-old strong safety $12 million? That's one of those questions that Denver may have to ask themselves. So then we'll go to the easy one next before I talk about Von Miller. So we talk about Nick Vanet. I believe he was a former 49er, signed a deal with them a couple years ago. They have Albert O, who's on a rookie deal. They have Noah Fant, who's on a rookie deal. Both of those guys are 6'5" and run a 4.4 at tight end. There's no reason to pay Nick Vanet $3 million when you got two athletic freaks already on your team.
I really wanted Albert O in the draft in those mid round.
You and me both.
He is fast.
Yeah.
I think he broke 4.3 something.
I think he did break
4.3s.
Right. I think you're right. And Dustin Hockett talks about Jawan James. I think he's their left tackle or right tackle. Garrett Bowles is the left tackle, so Jawan James would be their right tackle. I looked up his contract. His dead money is higher than his cap hit, so that means if they cut him, they have a cap loss. So I doubt that one would happen. If anything, they may restructure him, but he'll more than likely be on the team. So Von Miller is the interesting one. Again, he missed all of last year. He'll be 33 years old when the season starts. If they cut him, they would save $18 million. And he by far has the highest cap hit on the team. His cap hit is $22 million. The next closest one is $13 million. So I'm looking at this. I know they love him on the team. I know he's a leader. But when you look at the age, you look at the cap hit, you look at the production, which was none for last year, and it's a club option on his contract. So he has no say in whether or not they cut him. This one would be surprising, but I could definitely see it happen. Now, if he were to hit free agency, we would have to go straight to J.J. Watt's contract at what, $14 million a year? Lambeau, if Von Miller was available and it cost you $14 million a year, would you consider it?
Maybe. Yeah. Short term.
That one would be a hard pill to swallow, though.
It would. But J.J. Watts was how much?
I think it was 14 a year, 14 and a half a year, something like that.
For some reason, I was thinking it was even No, yeah, you're right. I think it was 14 something.
Yeah.
Von Miller. I'd sure feel better about it if it was 10 to 12.
Mm-hmm. Now, if he was on the free agency market, I think somebody would pay him that. And this is where I would look at a team like New England, and I would say they have the money to make a move. This would be a New England move to me. If Von Miller became available, I could see him going to that team because they don't have a pass rusher other than Rob Ninkovich. So that's definitely one I pay attention to. Now, let's go to Green Bay. I'll talk about the guy I'd be interested in for this team, and that's Adrian Amos, former safety from Chicago. He signed a big deal with Green Bay about 2 years ago. He was the reason they cut Clinton Dix to sign him. He has a $10 million cap hit next year. As you can see, Green Bay is $5 million over the cap. And it sounds like they're going to franchise tag Aaron Jones. So if they do that, you can add another $12 or $13 million to this number. So they'll be $18, $19 million over the cap on day one of the new league year. They're going to have to find a way to make some money and make some moves. So I think Adrian Amos would be a guy that they would consider cutting. They got Darnell Savage, former first-round pick. So they have a decent replacement they can put in that spot. This is the type of team where I would say they may look back in free agency for a cheap contract or even go to the draft. They got their first rounder. They really could let Amos be expendable. So, Lambo, I don't know if you're familiar with Amos or not, but let's say he got cut and you could sign him for $7 million a year. Would you be interested in that?
I would. Without a doubt. I believe I would. He's still got some years of his prime left, too.
Yeah. I think he's definitely a cut candidate because they have to find a way to make money. Because their other big contracts are the two above him, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. And the two offensive guys aren't going anywhere. And Dustin Hockett asked a great question. Is he a free safety or a strong safety? He's one of those guys that's interchangeable. I think when he played for Chicago, he played strong safety. And when he went to Green Bay, I think he started off as strong safety and Savage was the free. And last year, Amos went to free and Savage went to strong. So I think he can give you Pro Bowl level safety play at either safety position. And for a team like this with a guy like Donovan Wilson, that type of flexibility will be great. And looking at the way Green Bay plays defense, they play a lot of cover one defense, which means they put their corners on an island and they just have one free safety roaming deep and the other strong safety kind of playing at the line. So that fits almost perfectly with what we do with that cover three scheme that I think we're going to run. So I think this is a guy we can bring in from day one and he could really make some impact. So these next two names right above him, the Smith brothers, the reason I put them up here is because, like I said before, they're going to franchise tag Aaron Jones if we read the tea leaves. That's going to take them $18 million over the cap. And they don't have a lot of guys they can cut or restructure. I don't think they will restructure Aaron Rodgers because more than likely he's going to be out of here next year. So if you cut or trade Rodgers next year, that's just going to make the dead money even bigger. So I don't think they touch his deal. You could probably touch Devontae Adams' deal, but that wouldn't be enough to get you over the hump. And they also have Bakhtiari, the left tackle. I think he just signed his deal, so there's not a lot of wiggle room to get money out of him. I think they're going to be pretty much forced. If they franchise tag Aaron Jones, they're going to be forced to let one of these guys go. And another thing to add on to that, they drafted Rashawn Gary out of Michigan either last year or the year before. He's on the bench. He's a first-round pick, and these two guys are right in his way. I think they're going to have to see what they have in Rashawn Gary soon. So they're going to have to get rid of one of these guys to see what they have in them. That's why I think one of these guys is going to be a cut and not a restructure. So, Lambo, I know you follow Green Bay a little bit. If you had to choose between one of the Smith brothers, which one of them do you think may get cut? I mean, their stats are almost the same. They're the same age.
Probably Zadarius.
You think so?
Just because the cap savings.
Okay. Well, the follow-up question to that is, let's say he's on the free agent market, and his contract is $14 million a year, and you can sign him to a long-term deal. Would you try to get him in here and make room for him?
You know, for 14, I don't think I would. I don't know. I'm still holding out hope that Bradley and I is going to get a good shot next year, and that Randy Gregory is going to get a full season in and get a ton of reps, and we're just going to get a good rotation going at the defensive end spot.
Yeah.
And I think we could even draft one in those first 3 rounds too. That I don't know, man. I feel like they're going to be a little more stingy than that this free agency with everything going on with Dak. Because I feel like they're going to get a Dak deal done.
I agree.
And I think that's going to cause them to be really stingy in other areas, at least for the foreseeable near future.
Yeah.
Who knows though?
All right. So me and Lambo both agree it'll be hard for one of the Smith brothers to come here, but just a name to keep yourselves aware of in the next week when it comes to cuts. All right, Lambo, I think we pretty much have gone through all of them. 1, 2, I got 4 more of these to go through. So we'll hit them real quick. Let me check to see which ones I think have the most players that would possibly go on this team. All right, here's one. So we go to Buffalo. And I love all these names, honestly. They're $3 million under the cap, but as we know, the Josh Allen contract is going to come any day now. And when it comes, I think he has a low cap hit right now, probably $5-6 million. That's going to jump to 20 in year 1, possibly. So they're going to need some cap space. And I'm looking at all these names. Quentin Jefferson, underrated defensive tackle, young guy, very talented. Star Lotulelei, former first-round pick, very talented. I think one of these guys may get cut. Mario Addison, I could definitely see him getting cut because the cap hit is kind of high for his age. I would love to have Mario Addison on this team as a right end along with Randy Gregory. Same thing with Jerry Hughes. All Jerry Hughes does is pass rush, but he does it well. So that'd be another interesting name to take a look at if he were to be available. And then lastly, John Brown, one of those guys who just bounces around the league. He's always going to be your third receiver. He's always going to be a deep threat.
Yeah.
He has some injury concerns. So if the price was right, I would maybe consider him. I feel like his number would be too high for us. But all 4 defensive guys, I feel like they can come in and solve a problem for us immediately.
Yeah.
That's one of these guys you like, Lambo.
I like Star.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was that young. I feel like he's been in the league 20 years.
I know. I feel like the draft he came out, I feel like that was like a decade ago.
I know. I was thinking the same thing when I saw this.
Lotulelei. Yeah. I would spin the tires on him, see what they could get out of him. Big old 15-pound guy in the middle there.
But yeah, I really like Quentin Jefferson. He's kind of one of those unsung guys on the defensive line. I feel like he hasn't really gotten his dues yet. I don't know which one will probably be the guy to get cut. I feel like it's gonna be one of these two guys though. One of them's getting cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Star too. But if Quentin Jefferson was available and I could get either one of these guys similar to the contract we signed Dontari Poe, 2 years, $4.5 million a year, I'd be like, nose tackle taken care of. So for all you guys watching, make sure you pay attention to Buffalo because there's going to be a defensive tackle that's available. And Lambo, I see I did make a mistake. Star is actually 32.
Okay,
Not
that
20.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I knew he'd been here for a long time.
I was thinking, man, that's crazy.
But yeah, even at 32, I would still consider him.
Yeah, give him a
At that
2-year
price.
deal.
So knowing that he's 32, and let me double check Quentin Jefferson's contract because they're not getting rid of Vernon Butler, and they still have Ed Oliver on the team. They just drafted 2 years ago now.
And Oliver, was he out of Houston?
He was out of Houston. So yeah, he's kind of been on the back burner for this team because they got so many talented D tackles.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype around Ed Oliver that year. He came out.
So yeah, Dustin, he is 32. That's my mistake on this. But all the other ages are right. If Mario Addison or Jerry Hughes became available, if they were to take like a $3 million deal, $3.5 million deal, I'd be all over either one of them. All right, so we did the Giants and Titans. We did the Rams and Eagles. I haven't done Minnesota and Chicago yet. So let's go to the NFC North. And I'll put some interesting names on this one. So looking at Minnesota, of course, you got Riley Reef, the left tackle, kind of getting up there in age, been missing a lot of games. I think he's going to probably get cut. Now, the second one is very interesting to me because you look at Minnesota, they cleaned house last year. And I know they love Harrison Smith, but he's 32 years old and he's a strong safety.
I like
You
Harrison.
don't normally pay those guys $15 million.
Yeah. I wouldn't want them for that price. But man, I sure wouldn't mind having them if we could get them for a good deal.
Yeah.
Short term, of course, but
right. This is another one of those guys I could see being a New England Patriot guy. 32, strong safety, smart guy. He probably still has another year or two left. But at that price point, with where Minnesota's going, I could see them saying, you know what, we may want to save that money and move on from him.
Yeah.
And I think this is the last year of his deal. So when a guy's that age at strong safety, more than likely you're not going to re-sign him. So you may just try to go ahead and let him go a year early and save some money.
Yeah.
Shamar Stephen is an interesting guy. I didn't put his numbers up there. I apologize for that. But an interesting name I'd be aware of to take a look at. And let me go ahead and tell you guys his numbers. For Shamar Stephen, defensive tackle. And this is another one of those run stuffing guys who can just come in, do his thing, make some impact plays in the run game. His cap hit is $5 million this year. They would save 3.7 if they were to cut him. This is the last year of his deal. So this may be a guy they try to extend. I feel like this may be one of those guys they may let go because I feel like they're going in a new direction on the defense. They cut all the corners last year. They didn't re-sign Anthony Harris. Anthony Barr, I didn't put him up here, but I feel like they would find a way to restructure him because he still has a couple years left and he still has a couple years on his contract and his age. So that one's kind of interesting. And then I go to Chicago. And of course, we go to Jimmy Graham, 35 years old, save $4 million by cutting him. I think that was almost a given. I don't know about you, Lambo.
Yeah, Jimmy definitely gonna be there.
I wouldn't be interested in him right now, though. I don't know about you, but just a name to be aware of.
No, I feel like he's at this point he's kind of surviving off of his name during his New Orleans years.
Yeah, exactly. And then I put Kyle Fuller up here. He's had some good years.
Yeah.
But he's getting closer to 30. And to me, he's still a nickel guy. He's played well, but he's a nickel guy. You just never know. Just one of those guys to be aware of. Again, not all of these guys are guys Dallas may target. I just want to put the names kind of out there in the atmosphere so you guys will be aware of them in case they do happen. So we're at an hour, 16 minutes. We'll do 2 more, and then we'll get out of here. So next we'll go to the one I put 3 teams on one. And I just feel like with the AFC North, you got to put them all together because there's a lot of names on this list that Cowboy fans are aware of, and I think we all kind of like all these names.
And we're all aware of who Claiborne is, I'm sure.
Yep, very
if you
aware.
know who Chaz Green is, you know who Adrian Claiborne is.
Exactly. So Adrian Claiborne, not the most athletic guy, he finds a way to make sacks. He's one of those hired gun type guys. You bring him in for 1 year, pay him a decent salary, he gives you 6 sacks, and then he moves on to the next team. So Adrian Claiborne, Lambo, 33 years old. We may need a backup behind Randy Gregory and D-Law. Let's say he gets cut, which is probably what's going to happen, and you can sign him for $3.5 million. Are you considering it?
I consider it on a 1 year.
I think all he does is 1 year at this point.
Yeah.
So 1 year, $3 million, you bring in Adrian Claiborne.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is the one that's interesting because this is the one everybody kind of talked about before. David Njoku.
He's still 24.
Still 24.
Jeez.
Remember, he came into the league super young. I think he may have been 19 or 20 when he came in the league.
Yeah.
So he's on the 5th year of his deal. So his contract is guaranteed. And that means you got to re-sign him next year. I don't think they would cut him because they have the cap space to hold him unless they have to make a big deal, which I don't think Mayfield would destroy their cap. Would you trade for Njoku right now, Lambo? Because last year that was kind of the talk.
I like him a lot.
3rd rounder.
But no, I wouldn't.
Okay.
And that's not anything really against him. It's just more so of my how I feel about Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
I was already huge on Jarwin. If he hadn't got hurt, I thought he was going to have a monster year. And then Schultz, who I thought I didn't really care for, completely proved me wrong last year. And I wouldn't be surprised if Schultz won the job over Jarwin in the offseason, to be honest. But I like both of those guys enough to where I wouldn't be really wasting any resources personally on another tight end.
Okay. So now we move on to Baltimore, and Mendoza talks about Jalen Ferguson. I believe he was a 3rd round pick out of Louisiana Tech. I believe he's the guy that had like 24 sacks his senior year. But if you went and watched his tape, you got kind of a Greg Rousseau feel of how did he get 24 sacks like that? He didn't have a lot of pass rush moves. He was just big and fell into guys. And this would be the guy I would use as my warning for all the people that like Greg Rousseau. Jalen Ferguson is Greg Rousseau to me. Came into the league, didn't do anything, was just a guy. Now, the Ravens have plenty of cap space, and Ferguson's contract is not that much. I think he's a trade or cut candidate because they have so much depth on that defensive line. And the Ravens are actually playing him as an outside linebacker, which I think is a completely bad spot for him.
Yeah. That's the kind of
Oh.
guy I like to take chances on.
I would too. I feel like if you brought him in a system where he doesn't have a lot of pressure and he could just put his hands on the ground and go.
Mm-hmm.
And he still has 2 more years left on his deal. So let me ask you this question here, Lambo. If you could trade a fifth,
That's exactly what I was
conditional
going to
fifth,
say. I was going to say fifth is what I would get.
conditional fifth for Jalen Ferguson, you do that?
Yeah, I'd do that.
I do the same thing all day. So yeah, this is another name, guys. You may want to pay attention to Jalen Ferguson. I don't think he'll get cut. I feel like somebody would offer a pick for him that remembers him from college scouting. I remember there was some immaturity, possible issues with him as well.
Yeah.
So you would hope being in the league for 3 years with a team like the Ravens, some of those got rectified. But they're just so deep. I don't think they would have a spot for him, especially if they end up drafting another guy in this draft, which if you guys follow the Ravens, they draft front seven heavy every year.
Yeah.
Like they signed Calais Campbell and then they turn around and drafted Justin Matabuke in the second round. So they're always reloading their front seven. Dustin, just like I said, this was our precursor to Greg Rousseau. 6'6", 260. He looked like the guy you want to come off the bus first, but he had no pass rush moves. He had tight hips, and he just fell into sacks. This is the guy that scares me for a Greg Rousseau. So you're spot on with it.
Yeah, I'm off on Greg Rousseau too.
So Ferguson, it could be because they're playing him out of position, like Mendoza said, because the Ravens do run a 3-4. So I think they tried him at defensive end, and then they tried him at outside linebacker. I think they're still playing him at outside linebacker now. So maybe that move would be good for him. Now, Brandon Williams, this is a guy we definitely wouldn't trade for, but I can definitely see this being one of those guys they cut. Again, like I said before, they have the money to keep him on the team, $26 million. But he's 32. He's a nose tackle. And he's making $14 million on a team that has Justin Matabuke and Calais Campbell already on the roster. I could just see them not being able to justify keeping him on the team because they're already so deep.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at him as being a possible cut. He'll be 33 during the season. His cap hit is $14 million, but his actual salary for this year is $7 million. So if he were to get cut, I would probably project him to be a $6 million a year guy. For that price point, I would probably consider him in Dallas, along with the other lump of guys in that price range.
Yeah.
He's coming from a winning system. You know he's going to bring you leadership. $5-6 million, I would definitely consider Brandon Williams if he were cut. And I think he will be cut. So, yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of Greg Rousseau either. And for me, outside of Jalen Phillips and Carlos Basham, there aren't a lot of defensive ends I like either. And Basham plays the same position as D-Law. So unless you tell me we're getting rid of D-Law in the next 2 years, making a draft pick for Basham doesn't make sense. So, Dustin, I'm right there with you. And I like the short arm bandit, Kwity Paye, but I just don't want to see him on this team. I don't think he fits well. All right, we go to the last guy, Geno Atkins. I talked about him quite a bit this past year, 33 years old, one of those undersized, try-hard guys. He didn't start last year for the Bengals. Actually, the guy that we let go, Chris Covington, started over him. So you had a guy that's 33. He didn't start last year, and his cap hit is $14 million. I highly doubt they bring him back, even though they have the cap space for him. What do you think about that, Lambo?
I think he's out of there. He's out of there.
Now, I think his value on the free agent market is going to drop dramatically. I would expect him to be a $3 or $4 million guy. If you can get Geno Atkins at $4 million, would you consider it?
$4 million for an 8-time Pro Bowler. Yeah, I would give it a shot. Hopefully, it pans out better than the McCoy project.
That's what scares me. And Florida Cowboys says no more old guys. Oh, well, let me ask you this question then, because there's talk that Gerald McCoy may come back. If you had to choose between Gerald McCoy and Geno Atkins at the same price, which guy would you take?
McCoy
was hurt all last year. Geno didn't start as a healthy guy last year.
To me, I'm leaning towards McCoy.
Okay.
McCoy, like you said, McCoy was out because of health. Geno was out because of talent at this point in his career.
And he played behind a guy who couldn't start for us last year.
Right. So that's telling.
Yeah. So he may sit there for a minute, or somebody may take a chance on him. But
plus McCoy's attitude, man. I just even if he didn't, I mean, he's just a great locker room guy. So
Kentavious Street for the 49ers. I didn't put him on the list. I think he's gonna make that team. I did put DJ Jones on my list though. I don't think he's coming back. So I feel like Kentavious Street kind of fills that role with him. And I also put D Ford on my list too, Mendoza. I think D Ford is the guy who gets the boot because they have a guy like Kentavious Street who can be a pass rusher. The Niners are just deep at defensive end. And Kentavious Street is just one of those guys who you can throw in there at 3-tech and at defensive end. So I think he makes guys expendable. And Justin Lawler is the guy from the Rams, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So for him, that one's interesting because I don't think his contract is high enough that they would have to consider cutting him. And let me pull up his contract really quick because I may have overlooked it. Okay. The Rams are $29 million under. And Justin Lawler, give me 1 second. I'm going way down. Justin Lawler is pretty much a league minimum guy, making right around $900,000. I don't see this being the type of guy that they would cut to save money. I would actually see him being the type of guy they keep to replace a guy like a Morgan Fox. So that's why I didn't put Justin Lawler on the list. I don't think he'll be available this year. If anything, they'll probably use him as a replacement. All right, I think we'll go through one more and then we'll get out of here because we're an hour 30. Lambo, do you want to go Pittsburgh and Denver or the Raiders and Seattle? Did I do either one of those?
We did Denver.
I mean Pittsburgh and Detroit.
Oh.
Pittsburgh and Detroit or the Raiders and Seattle?
Pittsburgh and Detroit.
Okay. Because they actually had a cut that just happened. So we started Pittsburgh first.
Joe Hayden.
Pittsburgh is $7 million over. They just did a restructure to Ben Roethlisberger. So I believe with those moves, they are officially under the cap. So, but probably not by much. But you look at Joe Hayden, he's 31 years old. He'll be 32 years old during the season. His cap hit is $15 million. And they saved $12 million by cutting him. This is one of those guys I can see. They say, you know what? The age and the price don't match up. It's going to be deep at cornerback and free agency. This may be a guy we may want to pass up. And I don't see him being an option for us, even at a lower price point. I feel like the injuries are too big of a concern, and the cornerback position is too deep in free agency. but it's just a name I wanted to put out there for you guys to be aware of. Now, Stephon Tuitt, defensive end. In a 3-4 system, he's a defensive end. If he were to play in a 4-3, I think he could play a little bit of nose for you. He's about 6'5", about 310. So he has the size, and he's super athletic for his size. But I look at the Steelers again. They're tight on money. They're pretty deep in the front seven. Mm-hmm. So they may see this guy and see a $15 million cap hit and be like, you know what? We can get cheaper somewhere else.
Or they may be like, the Cowboys really messed up not taking TJ, so we'll go ahead and we'll let the Cowboys have TJ Watt. I'm kidding. Hey, miracles happen, right? Marcus probably isn't there. He probably can't hear me.
My computer's about to die, so I had to plug it in real quick. But yeah, like Mendoza said, this is the type of guy you want on your team. He's blue collar. He's going to bring you leadership. He comes from a winning culture.
I said, or they could just give us TJ because, they feel bad for us. We passed on them.
Right.
They want to be nice. Not happening.
Yeah, Tyson Alualu is a free agent. So they do have some decisions to make. And I feel like they would probably keep Alualu before they would keep Tuitt. Just my opinion. So I could see them maybe cutting one to save money to sign the other one. So then we go to Detroit, and Desmond Trufant was cut earlier today, so we can scratch this one out. Nick Williams is an interesting name. Again, the Lions changed defensive coordinators. Nick Williams may not be the new coordinator's cup of tea, so he may be one of those guys that gets cut. His contract is low, and he saves a lot of money on the cap. This would be one of those guys I would call a team up and say, you know what? Let me give you a conditional sixth, and let me get Nick Williams off your hands. Or I'll wait for him to be in free agency, and I'll sign him for $3 or $4 million. Yeah, like Mendoza talks about with the Steelers, after they lost Hargrave, their line isn't going the right way. They do still have a lot of guys in their front seven, Mendoza. So they have bodies there, and they're all about the same level to me. That's why I think a guy like Tuitt may be out of a job if they really like Alualu. And we talk about Desmond Trufant next. They saved $6 million by cutting him. 31 years old, often injured. But when he's playing, he's definitely a top corner. And just like Dustin said, he was a Quinn guy. He was a first-round pick for the Falcons. So Quinn has a lot of familiarity with him. The only reason they let him go is because he was injured quite a bit, and they couldn't pay the contract. So, Trufant's on the free agent market, Lambo. Let's say you can get him for $6 million. Are you interested in him as your number two?
Yeah, I'd be interested. I feel like he'd be a solid veteran to have opposite of Diggs for the short term.
Yeah. Now, I hear people talk about the Richard Sherman talk. I would probably much rather go with a guy like a Desmond Trufant.
I agree. I would too. And I also do like Danny Shelton, like Elazar said as well. Give me all 344 pounds of him in the middle.
Exactly. Former first-round pick, I believe, for the New England Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. New England just like to shuffle fat guys in and out. Yeah, Mendoza, they did cut Desmond Trufant today. He is available. So, again, they're trying to save money. You don't know what they're going to do with Jared Goff. They still have to sign Kenny Golladay. That's probably going to be a $22 million contract. So even though they're $5 million over the cap, that number may have to hit $25 million to comfortably sign Kenny Golladay and have money for free agency and the draft. So I'm looking at these three names with two of them because one is already gone. And I'm thinking these guys will probably be out of here. They got a new defensive coordinator. Nick Williams and Danny Shelton are both big fat guys. And I think they're going away from that 3-4. So I could see both of them kind of getting pushed out. I'd definitely be interested in either one of them. If I could throw out a 6th-round pick for either one of them, I would definitely do it. And I'll just take on that contract and roll from there. So hopefully we look at this in terms of a trade or watching them in free agency because these are going to come quick. Because they have to – I don't know when the deadline is to sign franchise tags. I believe is it next Thursday or the following Tuesday or something like that? Whenever that deadline is, they have to have $20 million in cap space. And they're not there yet because they have to be able to sign Golladay. So I think all three of these guys may be gone. So there's 2 more defensive tackles you guys can be aware of in terms of free agency. Lambo, are you more interested in one of these D tackles than the other?
A little more interested in Shelton, mainly just because he's a little bit younger, and I like the 344 pounds he's got on him.
And he's athletic for his size too.
Yeah, especially being that big and move like he does.
So definitely a guy I'd be interested in. I like Nick Williams too, though. I think he would make a good addition to this team. I think he's about 3'10", 6'4". One of those penetrating guys. He played more 5 tech for Detroit, but I feel like he can come here and play nose for us. So definitely another guy we could look into. All right, let's go to the last one real quick, Lambo, and I think that's the Raiders in Seattle, and then we'll get out of here because I really want to talk about these. Marcus Mariota, $10 million cap hit for a backup quarterback. I don't see them keeping him there as much as they like him. LaMarcus Joyner, interesting name, 31 years old, a former Ram. They cut him. They saved $9 million. They're going to need some money at some point to sign some guys. Lambo, LaMarcus Joyner, if he's a free agent and you can get him for $6.5 million to play free safety, you like that? 1 year, $6.5 million.
I like to talk him down a hair.
Okay, I mean,
talk him down a hair.
I'm not mad at you on that one, but
I'll pull Stephen Jones, see if I can get him 5.5.
I think he'll definitely be a guy that's available though. And Mendoza says, "I'll take him all day, every day."
Get him at free. Wilson at strong.
Yeah, he comes in and solves your free safety problem, in my opinion, at least for a year. So definitely somebody I'm interested in. Then we go to Seattle. I see Florida Cowboys says pass. I mean, I can see both sides of the position, but if the price is right, I definitely would like to have Joyner here. So we got Carlos Dunlap. Again, this is not a guy I think we would consider in Dallas, but I just wanted to put the name out there for you guys to be aware of. And this is the Cowboys tie-in. Last year at the trade deadline, Seattle was interested in 2 defensive ends heavily. One was Carlos Dunlap. One was Aldon Smith. Dallas did not want to trade Aldon Smith, so Seattle traded for Carlos Dunlap. Dunlap's contract will save them $14 million if they cut him, which means he's probably gone. So if he's gone, who do you think they're going to try to sign to replace him?
Mr. Aldon.
Mr. Aldon Smith. And they just got an extra $14 million to play with not a lot of positions to have to backfill. So that may drive Aldon Smith's market up a little bit. I know they say they want to re-sign him, but I would really look for the Seahawks to make him a competitive offer, like 7-8 million. I could really see that. Now, but you agree with my logic on that one?
Completely agree.
Okay. All right. So,
Great point.
yeah, last guy, Quandre Diggs, free safety for the Seahawks. He comes from their cover 3 scheme. I don't think he was around long enough to be under Quinn, but the Seahawks have pretty much run the same scheme for a while. And I believe Diggs was a free agent from I know it's a team in blue because I can see him clearly in blue. Maybe the Lions. He may have been a free agent from the Lions. But 27 years old, solid player, a little undersized. I remember he was kind of short, 5'10", 5'9". But he plays well and he creates turnovers. So Lambeau, you got a safety, 27 years old. Let's say he averages 3 interceptions a year, 3 to 4 interceptions a year, and he's available for $6 million. You interested in Diggs?
I'd have some interest, yeah. I don't know. Personally, I still would like to see us really invest a high, maybe like a second to third round pick on a safety.
Thanks, Mendoza.
Is what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
My personal preference, I'd prefer to try to go draft and hope, but yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah. So let's say he was available in a trade. What type of trade compensation would you look for? 4th round, over 4th, under a 4th?
No higher than a 4th for me.
Okay. Because he may be in the last year of his deal. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick before we get out of here. So Seattle, Quandre Diggs, his current salary, he's in the last year of his deal. So last year of his deal, guy, you could probably get a discount on him. So if we were to get him, you could probably get him for a conditional 6th, 5th. $5.5 million for a conditional 5th. I will probably do that one all day.
Yeah. 5th sounds like the target.
So this is another guy. If we want to go ahead and take care of our free safety position early, he's going to play every game. He's going to give you at least 3 interceptions a year. He's going to be solid in the back end. He came from Seattle, so he has familiarity with our possible scheme. This is a guy I'd definitely give up a draft pick for. And if he was in free agency, I'd definitely try to go sign him. I'd probably do the draft pick to make sure I got him. This is one of those guys.
Yeah.
And Seattle's over the cap, so they're gonna have to make a couple of moves eventually to get back under, because they don't have a lot of players and they have to fill some stuff as well. All right, Lambo, I think that's all I got in terms of this. So that was a lot of information, but I feel like it was a lot of good stuff that we put out here because that's been kind of the talk this week. Cap casualties. So I'll be interested next week when guys start to get cut. We can start to come back to this and say, you know what, guys, we let you know a week ago this guy may not be on the team.
Yeah, I'd say a good majority of those guys are going to end up as cap casualties.
I agree. But it's a couple of them I would definitely call about if I can trade one of our 5th or 6th round picks.
For sure.
All right, so before we get out of here, and I didn't even think about them in those Diggs and Diggs. There's another Diggs that's a corner, I think. That's
sounds like a law firm.
Right. Diggs, and Horn. But yeah, that would be a great law firm. All right, so before I go, everybody, thank you for sticking with us. I know there was a lot of information, but I feel like next week, like I said, when guys start to get cut, you'll already be familiar with some of these guys' names and their contracts, and you'll be ahead of the game when it comes to all of these social media discussions. So for everybody who made comments, thank you for sticking with us. Hope you guys come back and join us next week for another episode of the Cowboy Zone. I think we may do our last mock draft of the season. I don't know. I don't want to do too many, so Lambo and I get on that, and we may bring a special guest to come on with us to do it. Or we may do something else with free agency before free agency actually hits. We have to fill out what the market and the social media atmosphere tells us. So yeah, I knew you would catch that Diggs and Horn. All right, Lambo, before we go, let them know that social media.
Y'all can find me on all the social media platforms at Cowboys, y'all. Most of all, really appreciate if you guys would subscribe on the YouTube channel. Really trying to grow that, and YouTube's tough, so please subscribe. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all, and see y'all next week.
All right, guys, you can find me on all social media at Bluff City Cowboys on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you go to my YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe. I'm slowly starting to get more and more people in there, so hopefully I can get that 300 mark pretty soon. As we get closer to the draft, I'll start doing more videos with that. And make sure to tune in again every Thursday night, 7:30 Central Standard Time for the Cowboy Zone. We got a lot of great episodes coming up leading into free agency as well as the draft. So hopefully soon we can start to do some Dak talk, because we've all been kind of holding off on that. But we'll definitely hit you with some more free agency talk and some more draft talk. So that's it for this week's episode of the Cowboy Zone. I'm your host, Marcus. This is my guy, Lambo. And we are out.
See y'all later.
All right, guys. Have a good night.